Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum. And if you'd like to join this debate, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Now, we are joined by Slick James Johnson, I was about to say Anthony Riley, Sleeping Warrior, Paul, and Ibon Kim. How are you all doing?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm looking through the longest list of blocked users ever possible in the history of Flat Earth.
Who are you looking for? Oh, are you looking for Flat on Earth?
Yeah.
Okay, I was sound checking while you were trying to have a disjointed conversation in the pre-show. So what was the actual gist of that? Anthony's blocked. Why have you blocked him?
I know it's a debate show and it's contentious, right? And I'm all right with people disagreeing with me. I'm not all right with people that deliberately speak over me the minute I start talking just to be an arse. That's not acceptable. Disagree with me, that's fine. Call me a snake. I'm all right with that. Just don't speak over me intentionally to be an arsehole, because there's just no need for it. It's just petulant and childish. Just disagree properly like an adult, and we can all have a disagreement. That's okay.
Okie dokie, snake.
Stick a fork in it.
These are gonna get parroted at nausea. You realise that, right, Slick? Your catchphrases, they're gonna get used. You know it.
That's okay. Use it. Keep that fork handy.
Fork off.
What fork? Is this an imaginary fork? Do you have a belief in this fork?
Well, no, the fork that is needed to stick oneself to check when they're done.
I think you've got an irrational belief in forks, personally.
Is a fork stabbing in your experience, Slick, or is it not in your experience? If it's not in your experience, you can't assert it as a thing, right?
Well, it's every show. It starts this way. It's been this way for a week. Every show. Anthony even got in touch with me and said, don't start the next show talking about beliefs, for God's sake. And I was like, yeah, no worries. And then he brought it up on that show. I think it's a great topic, personally.
I tried to keep away from it. I presented flat earth evidence to try and distract from it.
It's the contrasting view. Slick has taken sorry to speak for you, Slick, please forgive me. He's taken a completely contrasting view to the prove everything, show everything with evidence, gather science. Well, he's saying what we have is just beliefs. So I want to get rid of all that, and I completely relate. I'm sure I've said this many times before, it reached the point where I was like, I've got to chuck it all out. It's all nonsense. Everything we know is rubbish. And I saw that as quite joyous. It's quite exciting, right?
But wait a minute, it's not quite like that now. That's not quite how it is. So
no, I'm only speaking for me in that regard.
Yeah,
I'm only speaking for me in that regard. I've said in the past, I don't necessarily take this standpoint now, but at the time when you're like, wow, what a massive lie. What else is it? What else have we been lied to about? And then you start looking, and there's loads. You start getting to the point where, well, how many beliefs do I have? Are they all beliefs? And yeah, so I can relate.
By the way, I can confirm that I did not have flat on Earth blocked. Somebody else must have.
Hey, chocolate.
I just noticed I haven't seen him.
Earth to chocolate. At work. He'll let us know when he's got.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Good to have you.
Good morning. My bad.
We'll get to some housekeeping in a bit once we've got these little bits about belief out of the way. Shout out to Leonardo Gonzalez for the super chat. Thank you very much indeed.
When you guys were talking about the ontological primitives yesterday, I still wanted to chime in. There is a third option.
Let's hear
we can come up with as many options as possible, because the two options that we currently have, they have to have a creator's entity like this, the beginning, whatever it is that creates everything, it has to defy the laws of physics. It has to create something from nothing, whether it's the God that created everything or whether it's the Big Bang. All of that breaks the laws of physics. Once creation starts, to start that creation, it has to break it. Another option
Hello.
could be hi Arwen.
Hi, Owen.
Hey. Hello,
Ibon's
Ibon.
just in the middle of
Right.
something. Hey, good to have you, Owen. Carry on, Ibon.
Okay, so another option is just like we, as third dimensional beings, whenever light casts onto us or any object within this third dimensional universe as we know it, it's a two-dimensional shadow. So another possibility is that maybe not just the animals on it, maybe Earth itself, whether it's a plane or a planet, whatever you want to call it, it's just a third dimensional shadow of a fourth dimensional object. So it necessarily doesn't have to be created. It's just there as a shadow of something else. That could be an option.
What the?
Well, see, I was trying to be clear about this yesterday. I think really it's not a nature. I mean, if you infer a beginning, you have to infer a creator first of all, and then the second thing, the only two options you have is either things came to being at a point in time, which would infer a creator, or they've always existed. Even your concept would fall into the concept of things have always existed. Natural law, natural something has always existed. That's the only two options you have. I think that's to me the ultimate ontological primitives. Either things started, came into being, which would infer a creator, or they've always existed. That's the two options.
I'm saying that the creator of what we experience, as far as the earth, the heavens, and whatnot, it doesn't have to be created. It can just be a residue of something that's higher. So it doesn't necessarily need creation. As far as what created the residue maker, you don't know. But that wouldn't defy the laws of physics.
Well, I'm saying the
So,
thing that
all right,
you're
my question, I'm sorry, Paul, real quick. My question is, though, like, why does it have to be either a creator or everything was always here? Because if let's say there was a creator, right? The creator, let's say the creator, right? Well, if there was the creator, then he would have to, he, she, whatever it is, would have to already always be here, right? Couldn't just come out of nowhere.
Well,
right?
the two ontological primitives are nature versus intelligent design, but maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves, because I'm going to have to quote John in saying this, but the two ontological primitives are invoked after this question is answered correctly. Has the universe always existed? And the answer's a resounding no. Why? Well, it's a violation of the laws of thermodynamics. Now you end up with the two ontological primitives being invoked, nature versus intelligent design. Which one of these caused the universe to come into existence? Well, obviously number two, because you can't have nature violating nature. So that immediately rules out everything coming out of nature. So for me, that's why I side with number two, for obvious reasons. If it's a violation of a law of nature, nature can't do it.
The Earth is flat. The Earth is flat.
And
the Earth is flat.
That's
right,
People
why
are trying to make Earth globe again.
Owen's got flat Earth Tourette's. Good to have you, though.
Earth is flat.
Go ahead, Arwen. Tell him.
Get it all out, Owen. Shout it
Give
from
it
the
to him.
No,
rooftops.
I'm getting look, so much creation, all that debate. Like, seriously, when's the last time we talked about flat Earth? I talked about flat Earth with Chris Berry on my early bird today. It was really good. I remembered. Oh yeah, you can actually talk about flat Earth.
This is talking about flat Earth.
So flat Earth. Earth is flat.
This is
But
talking
when
about
we
flat
talk
Earth.
about flat Earth and people who are globe earthers ask, hey, is there a book that explains flat Earth? We don't talk about flat Earth then. We talk about globe Earth. So most of the time, we're basically talking about globe Earth and how it's wrong.
Talk all day about flat Earth.
I mean, talking about flat Earth
and
is...
the other thing too.
Go on, Paul.
You mean we're
Sorry.
talking about how there is no globe Earth?
Right.
That's
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
But how the
But
Earth
see, I
came
think
to
this-
be is answered in the globe Earth paradigm. It's answered in their narrative. So you have the Big Bang. They're answering that question. Nature created it all. It all came from nothing.
You know the guy that was on the show yesterday?
It's flat.
The very quiet spoken guy that
Sorry, Anthony. I think Arwen's got something to add. Go ahead, Arwen.
Yeah. It's flat.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, Anthony.
Guy that was on yesterday.
Can I say something?
Having to get him to speak up. At the end of the show, when everybody had left, there was only me and him left. And basically what we were talking about was the concept of what came first, the chicken or the egg. Now, the ontological principle states that either everything came from nothing or it was created. And he wanted to have the concept that because the chicken and the egg is a continuous loop, because you have a chicken that gives you an egg, then you have a chicken that gives you an egg, because that's a continuous loop. He wanted to accept the concept that that just carried on going up continuously forever and ever and ever. Amen. And I'm like, dude, where did the first chicken or the first egg come from? And he's like, it always existed. I'm like, you can't have something from nothing. I said, well, back to that. It reduces back to that at all times, always. I said, somewhere that chicken or that egg came into existence at some point, right? In the same way that the human gave birth to a child. Human child. Yeah, but you have to.
It could have been always there. Just kidding.
But it was always except that when it was somebody states that maybe everything was just the Earth flattener, isn't it? And maybe everything always existed. No, you can't have that. Either it came from somewhere or it exploded from nothing. It's literally them two.
Right, but when you make hold on, can I get a statement in here? Hold on, Anthony, you can't just declare that.
Just before you do, Paul's been waiting for ages to get his actual statement that this started without.
I mean, the reason I think this topic is relevant, that it's a flat Earth relevant, or it's relevant to flat Earth, is because it's asking the question, why is there something rather than nothing? We're trying to answer that question, and I think that's why the ontological primitives aren't necessarily, something coming from nothing or a creator. It's actually either nature has always existed or it's created. That to me is the two ontological primitives in my mind. Because when you say everything's always existed, there's something inside of us knows that
it's
there has to be something prior. Hold on. Hang on. There's something inside of us that longs to be something prior. Like something we know in our intuitive minds know something cannot come from nothing. We know that. There's nothing. I mean, there's no thing, then there's something that can't happen. We know that intuitively. So I think you have two options. Either nature is eternal or God is eternal. Nature to me has no cause of power, has no cause or has no ability to have causal agency. Only an intelligent, free choice, free ability to choose person or thing or being can cause anything to occur. And that's why God to me is the primary starting point, and he's eternal, not the world or the existence we are in.
Now, in opposition to that, the nature that we observe around us is experienced by every one of us, whereas this God, creator God that everyone believes in, hasn't been presented to all of us. Yeah, I would assume that this creator God has been presented to none of us. So based on what we observe and what we experience, which one seems to make more sense?
Maybe the creator presented themselves to some people and that just didn't recognize it or didn't believe it.
I have a question. What if the creator and nature are one and the same?
That doesn't solve the problem, because that's what I just said a minute ago. Nature has no cause. I mean, like natural law has no causal power. There has to be some kind of agent to work within the natural law to function. So, and nature and laws do not have causal power. Only an intelligent person. And if the universe had a beginning, if the world had a beginning, then what you're saying would be that it had to exist prior to its existence.
What I'm saying is no, that's not even what I'm talking about. What if the creator and nature is one and the same?
Yeah,
hey,
but
10th Man and UK Truth, how you both doing?
Nature is within the physical world, so that nature could not have just created everything. That doesn't make any sense.
No, it does make some sense.
No, it doesn't. No,
it makes a lot of sense.
The creator can't be
very Gnostic way of looking at things, but basically that Earth was created by the mother, what they would call Sophia, and she wants to find who created her. And therefore she went looking and ended up creating the demiurge and all this other stuff. It's very similar to the Gnostic beliefs, dare I say, call it beliefs. But I mean, that is the creation story.
It is the guy I worship. I know it.
And the point that I'm trying to make is that people keep making these declarations that this can only be this and this can only be that. You're just declaring. You don't have any basis for these statements.
Oh, really?
But you had no basis for asking the question that could the universe be, the God and the creation be the same? You're just asking a question. You're making no assertion. So really, you're not bringing anything to the table.
Yes, I am. I'm asking a valid question. I am bringing something to the table. I'm not making a declaration. I'm asking a question that
Well, you can ask the question, but I'm saying that I don't think that's a valid question.
Right, but who cares what you think?
Good morning.
I do.
Who cares what you think, Slick?
I do.
Who cares what you think, Slick?
Yeah, I care what Paul. I care what Paul says. I'm not trying to be. What you say,
I'm not trying to be funny. I'm being serious. When you say I don't think that, you saying that like it really has some weight, like it means something. Like you sit somewhere on some throne that you get to declare what means something and what doesn't. That's the only thing I'm saying.
No, that's what you're doing.
Hey, 10th man.
And also,
I actually not for nothing. Not for nothing. I actually. It's gonna sound weird, but there was a little while where I kind of agreed with Slick when he said the creator and nature being the same thing, because I used to think that a little bit, not taking out the causality that Paul was talking about. I thought of that because when I obviously I'm not a religious person, but I tried in thinking of these subjects. I came to that. Like maybe it is something like that, like nature and, the creator are one and the same. And maybe there is an intelligence that we can't see in nature that can be attributed to the creator. Now, obviously, I don't know. That's just my opinion. I'm not a religious guy, but I just throw my 2 cents in. That makes sense.
It's kind of like this. So what you're saying is the computer simulation, the computer and the computer simulation are like, how to explain this? The computer simulation of the computer created itself, or the computer is God.
A programmer can never program himself from scratch.
Right.
You can only reprogram themselves, but you can't program yourself from scratch. That's literally impossible.
Let me just.
Right.
Look, suppose we accept that nature is. Did you say if nature?
Let me say. Yeah, what I'm saying. Let's just for hypothesis. Hypothetical.
Yeah.
We're saying that nature and creator are one and the same. They're both the same thing.
Okay, so if nature and creator were the same thing, wouldn't that make the sun, in other words, the giver of life? Because without sun, everybody dies, right? Plants die, food dies, everybody dies. Wouldn't that make the sun the giver of all life, therefore God? Praetelios.
You could say that. That would be a fair statement. That's why the Son is given such praise, and that's why the Son was turned into Jesus Christ, for that very same reason. See, the Son, I'm not done yet. The Son was basically hijacked to create this religion to control the world. That's why it's 2019, because that's the
claim. Support your claim, please.
That's can I finish?
Support your claim, please.
I know, but no. Okay, I'll tell you what. Let me go ahead and let you take over. My fault. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, hello, good morning.
Hey, 10th man, good to have you.
Slick, you know what?
Hold on, let me just level him up at the least.
We'll talk about it later.
Hold on.
When it's my time to speak, Nathan, just give me the cue. Okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, thank you. Now, Slick says, and he does say it, that there is no beliefs. He doesn't have any beliefs. I wasn't aware until I listened to yesterday's show fully, because I'm sick and I got on late, but I went back to listen just to readdress everything, and I caught the beginning of that show, and that was the 8/12 uncut NAFTA show, and at the one minute 12-second mark, he says, my whole position is to tear down the belief system in its entirety on all sides, wherever their beliefs are. I'm here to tear them down. Okay, I believe him that that's why he's here. That's why we're always having conflict with him. But my question is very simple. If the only thing he accepts is experience, and I don't think Slick is 2,000 years old. I mean, he's born in 1900 something. How does he know anything about Jesus if the only thing he accepts is his experience? That means
He doesn't. He's just talking.
excuse me. Let me finish. That means he must have read something or seen something and believed someone else's experience to come up with this Jesus never existed. So he does have beliefs. He's a Trojan horse.
Well, what have you considered this? Have you ever considered that I may be spirit?
I think we all are spirit.
Okay, so that's just an
Red
answer to your
herring.
que-
Red herring.
No,
Red herring.
hold on.
Let me
Take
finish.
it easy. Take it easy.
Let me finish. Slick, this is a good question. I'm glad you brought it up. We all are body, soul, and spirit, but we're fallen spirits, and that's why Jesus came.
Right, but that's not my point. What I'm saying is that which is flesh, and that which is spirit is spirit. Now that's the
Yeah, but
spirit
you
that
said.
Hold on, are you going to let me finish or cut me off?
I
Now,
don't know. Sorry, go on.
So what I'm trying to propose to you is that those are two separate things. Now, when you're speaking about me, you have to be clear on which one you're speaking about. Are you talking about me in the flesh or me in the spirit? Those are two different entities.
I see. Okay, so let me take you to the next level of hypocrisy then. You said to understand you, we have to think like an animal. Okay. Nathan, when's the last time a Wolverine or a dog called in on the debate show and debate flat Earth?
They're in all the time.
Now, can I respond to that? Now, didn't I also say right after that, I said, just because I can think, I don't let that get in the way. See, so what you see on this talk show is me just having the ability to think, but I don't let that get in the way of reality.
Right. So you're an intellectual pacifist.
Hang on. I've got a thread here. Just let me have Slick for a little while, and then I'm sick. You guys could jump on him later. At the 23-minute, 35-second mark of the Ibn Kim interview, you said the biggest problem that man has is that they could speak. And you contrasted that to animals that don't speak. And you said, obviously, tying into that, what you said yesterday, and let me just read it because it's very telling here. I'm going to read my notes here. My whole position is to tear down the belief system in its entirety and all sides wherever their beliefs are. I am here to tear them down. At the 139, reality doesn't have an R side in response to Sleeping Warrior when he said, listen, you're arguing with fellow flat earthers. And you said there is no R side. I couldn't care less about the flat earth community. They mean nothing to me. That's what you said at the 139 mark. At the 208 mark, you said beliefs divide people.
Before you go on, there was a long pause after that sentence was said as well. You've missed that bit off.
No, I know there's a pause. I'm citing the minutes I'm giving. Someone else could go and see the pause. I'm not citing.
I'm just saying that pause was abstain. It was disdain on my part. I didn't respond.
Oh, I know. I got that. Okay, duly noted. 208 part. Beliefs divide, period. The whole belief system is set up on a heads, they win, tails, you lose. So that's what it is. It doesn't matter what side you're on, you lose either way. That's the deal with beliefs. And then reality doesn't require me at all. I don't count. This is what you said about yourself, Slick. And then at the 429, I believe it was Sleeping Warrior, and you were responding to the sophism or Sabalistic statement, and you said, I'm not holding that position. Slick says to Nathan, he does not have influence on reality. At the 446, reality has nothing to do with me. It doesn't need me to exist. doesn't require me at all. I don't count. So you yourself say you don't count. I take the same position of any animal. The only difference between me and an animal is that I have the ability to think, but I just don't let that get in the way. From I don't to. Then like any animal, he cites philosophy. Christian terms are being hijacked when it's responding to Paul's statements, because Nathan brought him back to what he was saying about Paul. So here's a guy who says he's like any animal, and then he starts saying that philosophers have talked about the Christians hijacking terms. But then when yesterday I brought up the Socratic method and Aristotle's rules to logic, he said, oh, so you're quoting those philosophers? But here he's quoting philosophers, but he's an animal, but he doesn't want to think. So you're just a hypocrite. You don't make any sense. And if you say experience is the only thing valid, how do you go back 2,000 years and say Jesus didn't exist when you weren't there to experience it? You have to stay true to your statements. Say, I don't know.
Right. Now, here's the point that you missed once again. I said there's two beings here. You have the spirit and you have the flesh. Now, you have to understand when I am talking in the spirit. So that's when I'm talking about this in the spirit, when I'm talking about 2,000 years ago, because it's always now. 2,000 years ago. Oh, listen, never mind. If you're going to just interrupt me. Now, 2,000 years ago and now, there is no difference in the spirit. Do you understand that?
I think I do. You believe you are.
Hold on. Just do you
believe
do you
you are
understand?
divine?
Just say yes or no. Do you understand or not? I'm not asking you for. I'm not looking for your word salad. I'm just asking you.
You are the most cowardice person I've ever met. Everything.
Listen, I'm trying to make a point, and I'm asking you a simple. Okay, so just answer the question so that I can continue. I'm not looking for you to step in and add your word salad.
Yes,
you're the one making word salad, and you're talking about weird, timeless, spirit, ethereal approaches. This is ridiculous.
Let me know when I can continue.
I will let
Hold
you know.
on.
I will let you know.
You just let Slick
you are
actually
divine
respond.
and
We
you're
had about
omniscient.
10th man.
That's what you
10th man. He gave you, like, quoting him over and over again. He didn't interrupt you once. Come on.
Right. So I was trying to. I'm sorry. Yes, I was trying to make a point that in the spirit, it's always now. All time is now, no matter when it was. So 2,000 years ago and today in the spirit is the exact same time. That's why I know about 2,000 years ago.
Thank you. But every time you didn't start that way, you came back to me with a question. When I ask you a question, or anybody on this panel ever asks you a question, maybe 10%, maybe, I'm being generous, you come back with an answer, but the other 90+%, you ask a question back, which lets you deflect, and then you say, I rest my case. So yes, you are equating yourself to the spirit. You're giving your own terminology to the spirit. You have to be omniscient and God to do what you just said. So just admit it. You believe you're God.
You admitted it.
Oh, so you agree with it?
I just said you admitted it.
So do you believe you have divine essence and you're God and you're omniscient?
I don't have beliefs. I don't have beliefs.
Do you state that in your omniscient divine state, your spirit, you have no time, you're bound by no time, and you were there when Jesus was there? Is that what you're saying?
Listen, what I'm saying is you have already said it, but you have not understood.
Yes or no?
I just said you said it, but you have not understood.
And answer the question. Yes or no?
That is my answer. You have said it, but you have misunderstood. That is my answer.
Well, no, then correct me.
I just said it. You misunderstood.
Correct it.
You said it, but you misunderstood. I'm correcting him.
No, saying that he's incorrect is not correcting. Correct.
Maybe you can be quiet
and correct.
Okay. Did you hear the first part of my statement when I said
And it didn't contain anything. It's
Would you
not a
be
response.
quiet, please?
You're red herring the shit
Now,
out of the argument.
Would you be
Again, as you
quiet,
always.
please?
Shout out to Mind Warped for the super chat. Thank you very much indeed.
Remember when I said you have said it? Did you hear that part? Did you hear that part of my statement when I said you have said it?
Said what?
Listen, when I answered you, I said you have said it, but you have not understood.
Get to a
Did you
point,
hear?
I'm gonna freaking kick you, Slick.
All right, you know what? Go ahead. I'm going to let this
Okay,
conversation
okay.
go. I'm done with it.
Yeah, it's
I know.
absurd.
I'm
when you
so
don't have a
sick of
position.
you, man. I'm so sick of you and your fucking bullshit.
No swearing,
Hey,
please.
Arwen,
Stop
this-
threatening.
No
to
swearing,
kick people,
please.
Arwen.
Arwen, this is what happens when you hold an absurd position. And I like to see it fall apart live.
Now,
Well, it
I
is,
will-
but he's still gonna do it anyway.
Well, it's up
It's
to
meta
Nathan how he
bullshit,
wants.
not
Listen,
actually getting to the point until he actually lost track of what was talked about. He does it freaking every time, every fucking day.
Stop swearing, please.
well, it's up.
Please stop swearing.
It's Nathan's show. It's Nathan's show. He can run it any way he wants. I have no problem showing up every day to show his absurdity.
If Nathan wants to do that, that's fine, but I'm gonna be sick of it.
Well, then, well, you don't have to come. Just like people don't have to come.
No, but I
when he
will
comes
come.
out- No, I agree, and I will come, and I will show the absurdity of this nonsense.
So will I.
Good job,
My own
Arwen.
way.
All right.
Good job.
Moving on, I would like to report that the other day, Sheila, actually, it's actually been quite a while. But Sheila Zelinsky, she's got 101,000 subscribers. She started to look into flat Earth a little bit by having an interview with Dean Odell. I never heard of Dean Odell before, but he did an interview with her that was about an hour long, and he brings up a lot of good points because he wants to try to get people into the biblical side of the interpretation of the Bible.
Wasn't
and
Dean
scripture.
Odell the guy
And,
who kicked off at a conference? Didn't he? I'm sure there was some scandal that he caused at one of the conferences in the States. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, I think so. I think that might be correct. I haven't looked
Sorry,
into him too much.
Before you
but,
carry on, Ibon, is there anybody who's
Wasn't it-
not particularly chatty on the panel that wants to drop? Because there is somebody who wants to join if you are willing to drop.
I'll go ahead and drop.
No, you're the one person talking.
I'll just kick Slick, and then someone else.
Don't kick anybody, please. Just anybody who's not particularly talking.
The only person we're really willing to lose here.
Is it a baller join?
I'll drop.
A guy called Chris.
He's a baller.
Didn't actually establish that. You're a baller, Chris. Please let us know in the chat. Either way, if there's any panel member that's not chatting, obviously, if they can make a gap, hopefully Chris is a baller.
Isn't UK Truth a baller?
Nathan, I will.
Cool, we've got a gap coming. There you go, Chris. Feel free to join.
And real quick, Ebon, I love you, bro. But what's the hat? What's going on with the hat, man?
So this is called Mega. Make Earth Globe Again. So
Right, I see that.
It's
Hey,
a segment that I want to do where basically I want to try to get Globers on to talk with me to convert me back into making Earth a globe again.
Chris,
okay.
How you doing?
Copy
Can you
that.
hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Good to have you.
Yay, I'm in.
So what's your deal, Chris? Why did you want to join? Why were you so keen?
Yeah, there's a couple of things I wanted to ask you guys. I was having a discussion with some ballers this morning about gravity, and they brought up this video that Wolfie apparently did. And basically what he did was he was showing that an object that has like a fixed mass, like the weight changes when you move from, like, I think it was the southern hemisphere to the equator or something. And what the point that he was trying to make was that what's causing that change? Like the mass of the object that's being weighed stays the same. However, when it's moved to a different location, it weighs different. So what he was trying to say was that gravity is what's causing that change to happen. rather than the density or the mass of the object. I may not have represented what he was trying to explain accurately, but
no worries, that's perfect.
If you get my point,
yes,
yeah,
it's an affirming the consequent. So in his example, he's already assumed that he's traveling between northern or southern hemispheres, and then he gives his example changing latitude and assuming his outcome that it's a sphere with gravity. So he will then declare this non-scientific observation and claim the cause based on his presupposition. So it's simply a logical fallacy, affirming the consequent. If the Earth is a sphere with gravity, then we will observe the effect of weight change when I change my latitude. I change my latitude and observe weight change, therefore the Earth is a sphere with gravity. It's an affirming the consequent form of logical fallacy.
Right. So my question to you guys is, what's causing the weight change?
What weight
I have
change?
a theory.
Because he claims that it is taking place. I mean, I haven't verified it for myself.
Sure.
But,
he
what would
claims
be
it.
causing that to happen?
Sure. We have a way of adjudicating cause and effect relationships. It's called the scientific method. If adhered to, you establish the cause of an effect. So is he proposing that this weight change is a naturally occurring phenomena that he can validate with science? No. He simply declares it based on a digital scale that he puts through the air under massively different pressures, lands, and then tears it and weighs it again. Correct?
That's correct.
What a crock of shit.
Wait, I mean, am I confused? But haven't they tried to use the same quote-unquote evidence for the rotation?
I'm not sure about that. I don't know about that.
All right, I could be confused.
I'm still kind of confused, and forgive me here because like I'm not 100% sure about all of the specifics involved in this. But so what you're saying is that there is no change happening. Like when you weigh something at a different location, it's still going to weigh the same.
No, I'm saying if he is to assert that that is a phenomena naturally occurring in our glorious world, then there is a established method for adjudicating cause and effect relationships. If he's saying that's an effect and he wants to attribute a cause to it, then he's absolutely in the realms of science. So is this a scientific proof of gravity? Well, of course not. It's a crock of shit.
Right. Okay, so in this case, if we were to say that we're observing an effect and we're not sure what the cause of that effect is, how would we determine what the cause of that is?
With the scientific method.
The scientific method.
That's correct.
I've heard you talk about the scientific method before, and if without me butchering it, just because I don't want to do that, do you mind letting me know what that is?
Sure. So the first step in the scientific method would be to observe a natural phenomena. In this case, a claimed natural phenomena, which is in no way natural. Nevertheless, if we give them that anyway and say that the weight change they are observing is a natural phenomena, then you create a hypothesis with an alternative and a null that says if this, your independent variable, the thing you will vary and manipulate to cause the effect, then we will experience the effect. So then you vary and manipulate your presumed cause of the effect, and if it causes the effect, you have validated your alternative hypothesis. Simple.
Okay, so at this stage, we don't know what the cause is. We're just observing an effect. And
Correct.
The claimed effect that's being observed is that when you move, let's say you have a gram of, not a gram, but like 10 grams of gold, like a gold bar that weighs 10 grams, and you move it to a different location, and it weighs 10.5 grams. So we're just observing an effect. And how are we going to determine what the cause is? Because I'd imagine that we varied it from moving from one location to another.
So you vary that which you presume is the cause of the effect. So you create a supposition, also known as a scientific prediction, hypothesis. That hypothesis contains that which you presume causes the effect. and you have two sides to that prediction. If this, then that. In other words, a confirmation that what you have presumed causes the effect does cause the effect. If this, then that. If this, not that. Oh, we've got feedback from somebody. Anthony.
Yeah, I think that's Anthony right now.
So if this, not that, would be your null hypothesis. So you vary and manipulate that which you presume causes the effect, and it does not cause the effect. So it has two sides, and after systematic experimentation, you will either validate or invalidate your hypothesis, which is to say you will either confirm that it does not cause the effect you presume, or it causes the effect you've presumed. This will obviously be done under controlled circumstances. But you have a single independent variable, something which you presume is the cause, you vary it, and if it causes it, you have an established cause. Now, they are not going to be able to achieve that when they simply assert that their presupposition that they're travelling across a sphere Earth, which has gravity, is that which causes the weight change. That's a whole lot of presuppositions, as opposed to a supposition which they will then validate through systematic experimentation. Hence my description of it being a crock of shit.
Right. So if we were going to perform the same test, I'm not going to call it.
Yo, Anthony.
Yeah, Anthony. What's going on there? Right. So if we were to perform this same test, I'm not going to call it an experiment because it's not an experiment at all. And we're to perform it as a flat earther, meaning that we're not going to presuppose anything. And we were to say that the hypothesis for this is that we observe that things, the weight of certain things change depending on the location we're in. And we're trying to figure out, you know, what's causing that, right? Would it be enough to say at location A, such an object weighs, say, 10 grams, and at location B, it weighs like 10.5 grams? Are those enough variables, or do we need to have more than those in order to make it valid?
So if you are to make it a valid scientific prediction, then you have a presumed cause and an effect. Now, if you're saying that the location causes weight change, then that is your supposition. So location would be the cause.
Well, I mean, we don't know what the cause is yet. We're just observing the effect that when we're moving from one location to another location, the bar of gold that we're weighing weighs a different weight than it does at a separate location. That's all we're looking at right now. We haven't figured out what's causing that yet.
And they've established that how? With a $12 digital scale.
Yeah, we've got a $12 digital scale.
Wow, this is an amazing measurement. It's a measurement of weight changing with location after transporting what is presumably not particularly complex but nonetheless sensitive equipment across the airwaves in different pressures. There are so many variables to take into consideration that you couldn't possibly assert at the end that something non-related to anything you have changed is actually the cause. That's just made up. So I say, if I move my car from one location to another, it changes colour, and the reason is because of unicorns. Well,
I mean, what's wrong with
I've done is I've moved my car and observed colour change. That's what I've done. Yeah? And I assert that unicorns has caused it, until you establish that I've actually moved it into somewhere darker.
Right, but I mean, at this point, we haven't established what's causing it. We're just looking at what's happening.
Sure, but we're really only interested in the natural world, as opposed to what happens with a set of man-made digital scales when you transport them through the air, which is precisely what's being done in this nonsense.
Now, you keep mentioning that the scales are being transported through the air. How would that affect anything?
Who cares? It's a variable, isn't it? Something has been varied. The pressure exerted on the scale as it's transported is being massively altered as it transports into a different pressurized area at a different atmospheric pressure at a different temperature at a different time of day. Many things change during that period. However,
Right.
none of the things that have actually varied are attributed to the cause now, are they? It's caused by what now? Gravity? What the hell's that? Any scientific validity given to this cause that they've made up? No, they've just made it up and then attributed it to this, which they claim is a phenomena. No, it's not. Not a natural phenomena. It's a phenomena of what happens to a man-made scale when you transport it.
Right, but in certain examples that I've seen, the scale itself wasn't transported. It was the object that was going to be weighed that was transported, and they used the scales that were at the location that they were traveling to.
Oh, right. So a variable scale. A completely different scale being used.
A different scale, yeah.
Oh, right. Another variable. Was that asserted as the cause, that variable of the scale itself, the man-made device? This is nonsense. The entire thing is nonsense.
Right. I mean, so from what you're saying, there's several things that, you know, could affect what the outcome of this test is. So, I mean, how do we know what we're going to isolate? Because there's so many things that, you know, you brought up, like air pressure and atmospheric conditions that could affect, you know, the
I've already
change that's
answered
happening.
this. I've already answered this. With the
Rigorous
establishment.
scientific experimentation.
Right. So you have a method already laid out for establishing cause and effect relationships. That's called the scientific method. You have control variables, that which you will hold constant, the effect, and that which you presume has caused the effect. The thing you will vary and manipulate to show, as you vary and manipulate it, that it does indeed cause the effect. At any stage during this nonsense, is the variable asserted to be the cause actually varied at any point?
No, it's not.
So they haven't varied and manipulated that which they presume has caused the effect. They've varied multiple other things and then simply asserted it at the end.
Right. But you can't vary gravity. That's not possible.
No, but they can vary the pressure on the man-made device that they're transporting and claiming that the number on that man-made device is a phenomena. This is nonsense.
Right. Interesting.
Or nonsense, depending on which way you want to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to look at it at this point. I obviously need to do some further investigation on the scientific method because it's not as, it may be straightforward, but I don't know why it's just not straightforward to me. The thing that I'm having a hard time with is the variables, and I understand that, you know, like there's a lot of different things that are going on that need to be taken into account. And so what you're saying is that it's the cause that needs to be varied. That's it. Nothing else needs to be varied.
Sure. I mean, there's a simplistic example that Betty and John give, and I'm just going to use theirs because I can't think of a better one. So you're walking along and you stumble across a boiling hot spring, a phenomena in nature, and you go, I wonder what causes that water to boil. So then you start to vary and manipulate things which you presume cause that effect, and you formulate hypothesis. If acid content, then boiling water. So you vary and manipulate the acid content of the water to find that it causes no boiling. Then you say, maybe heat causes this effect. So you vary and manipulate the heat, and what do you know? The heat causes the effect. You have then established the cause of the effect by varying and manipulating various things until you establish which one actually caused the effect. Prior to that, you only had supposition. What you presumed caused the effect, but didn't actually establish the cause until you varied and manipulated that cause to see that it didn't or did cause the effect.
Right. Okay, so the ballers claim that the effect, or rather the cause, is gravity, and we can't assert that gravity is actually causing that because we don't know that. We can't vary it. So from your point of view, how would you perform this test?
I wouldn't.
If you don't know what the cause is, and we've established that, you know, certain things appear to change mass, Like we're observing that effect, but we don't know what's causing it. How would we perform an experiment to determine how that's happening?
We wouldn't. It's not a natural phenomena.
It's not natural.
No. You're asking me why my computer runs faster when I transport it from here to a different location, and even though the broadband speeds are the same at the phone line, why does my computer run faster? Let's figure out why my man-made device changes its desired effect when I transport it. Oh, my bad, I didn't mean computer and internet connection. I meant electronic weighing device that was man-made. Sorry, my confusion there. So should we figure out why my computer changes its speed? I mean my calculator. I mean my... Sorry, what was the man-made device we were using again? Scales?
A scale, yeah.
Oh, my bad. Is this a natural scale that we found in nature? No.
No.
No. Definitely not.
Right, but I mean, we do need man-made technology to determine certain things. I understand where you're coming from, but how else would we know how much something weighs if we don't have a scale to weigh it? How else would we figure that out?
What are we trying to figure out? There's an assertion that there's a phenomena that this thing changes, and either they change the physical location and a lot of parameters around the device, the man-made device, and it's not the physical item isn't going to be asserted to have changed in any way. The number on the scale is what's changing.
Yeah.
Right. Well, this is not a natural phenomena. If you're to assert that that physical thing has changed physically or molecularly during its travels, I would immediately call bullshit.
Right, and in the second example that I provided to you, I said that rather than traveling with a scale, we're going to use the same scale at these two different locations. Same brand, same make of scale.
So not the same scale. So not the same scale then?
They're not, but they function the same.
Oh, do they?
Because they're the same type of scale.
Oh, great. So they'll link us to the calibration data that's been measured to within 1/10 of a degree of accuracy, and all the control parameters around the vacuum chamber or pressurized chamber that kept the exact same pressure of the atmosphere on that scale. All of those things, and the humidity, and all of those things were taken into consideration and controlled, were they, when making this measurement?
Why would the same piece of technology work the same in different locations?
I don't know. Men are faulted in terms of how they put pieces of equipment together. That's why it sits outside of science and inside technology. So understanding how this technology may vary between device to device or having been transported is an answer that can be put to the people who created it in their technological realm. Me, I'm only interested in the physical and natural world, as opposed to what digital man-made scales do, or the variance between them.
Right. But I mean, you can determine whether this piece of technology functions in the exact same way by, for example, putting different sets of weights on there, seeing if the weights match, and repeating the same test with the scale that's at the other location. I mean, that can just be used as a marker to determine whether the technology works as said. But I mean, further than that, how else are we going to determine how much something weighs if we can't weigh it physically?
We do weigh things physically. That's not what's being done here. This is being used to assert gravity is real, which I've already taken to pieces. So beyond that assertion, what's this useful for? Are you proposing that you're going to take gold across the country to make a large profit when it weighs more?
No, that's not what I'm asserting. I was just using that as an example.
I'm
just trying to figure out, whether this has any validity to it.
What's it useful for? What's the use of this? What does it prove? What's it useful for?
It proves whether, the effect that's claimed, actually takes place as stated.
No, it doesn't prove that. I just explained this. They haven't established the cause of any effect. The effect is not a natural phenomena. It's a technological one. So this proves nothing besides capabilities of man-made technology.
Right. Okay. So the issue here is that we don't know what the cause is, so we can't vary or manipulate it. All we can see is the effect. So we obviously need to know what the cause is before we can determine, whether it really is what's causing the weights to change at different locations.
But you're
First,
asserting
they
that
can't even figure out if their gravity is a force or if it's the bending of space-time. They're still not even in congruence with that.
no, the current
Let
rhetoric is
alone
bending of
proving
space-time.
beyond that.
The current rhetoric
Right,
is
yeah.
bending of space-time. That's the current rhetoric. Doesn't matter what anyone else says. It's currently bending of
No,
space-time.
I get that.
Sure, but
Yeah, I get that.
we're going off the rails. What does this actually prove? And you're saying, well, it proves that the effect does happen. Well, no. The effect that's being claimed is objects of mass change weight based on their physical location on a sphere. That's the claim.
Yeah, that is a claim.
Right. So in that claim, second time, there is a presupposition that we are on a sphere. The very thing that they are trying to prove.
Right. And my objective
I
in
hadn't
doing
finished.
this is trying
I
to.
hadn't finished. You're confirming that the assertion is a phenomena. We need to figure out this effect. Well, no, the claim effect is not a natural phenomena. It's a technological one. So to assert that the weight has actually changed is to assume that you have gone through every single detail of every single parameter and ticked them off and held them controlled, which has not been done. So there is no phenomena, natural or otherwise. There's an assertion of one, and then an assertion of the cause of it. So all this is a little bit of smoke and mirrors to claim a cause, which does not exist and has no scientific validity whatsoever. Beyond that, it has no use whatsoever.
Right. So the claim of the ballers is that, we live on a sphere that has gravity, and because of that, when we shift from one position to another position, we're going to see the effects of gravity. And my objective is to try and disprove that by actually performing the test that was said to prove this effect or this cause or whatever. And I mean, based on what you've said, it's not possible. So
it's not needed.
Yeah, that's what my...
The onus of proof is on the claimant. So you establish what is actually being claimed, and immediately we're into a presuppositional argument. Well, straight away, it's down to just the claim itself before you do a damn thing is a logical fallacy. So immediately it cuts the legs off it at that point. Beyond that, you can rip it to pieces based on its total lack of any scientific validity. And it's supposed to be a proof of gravity. Yeah, right. Okay. Well, you just rip the claim to pieces. You don't have to replicate anything. That's a burden of proof reversal fallacy that's obviously worked on you. Somehow you feel you are obliged to disprove this claim. Well, no. Whoever's making this crap claim has to prove their claim. And if they're claiming cause, it's scientific. So let's see your scientific validity to back your claimed cause of this claimed effect. Their burden of proof to prove this claim, not yours to disprove it. You can easily tear it to shreds. It's got absolutely no validity whatsoever and is based on a fallacy.
Right. So the burden of proof is on them. But I would, like before I understood the scientific method, like a few minutes ago, I was under the assumption that, all of this could be done without adherence to that. But obviously you kind of have to stick to that method. And the reason, I wanted to disprove this or prove it if it was correct is because this is proof that the globers are using for gravity. So if we can disprove it, then they can't use that claim anymore. But it's obviously not scientific, so there's no way of verifying what, they've actually done.
Precisely. So it's a nonsense assertion of a non-phenomena and then a claim of a non-scientifically valid bending of space-time mathematical idea reified into existence through this logical fallacy backed up by someone carrying a man-made device across country and then asserting a phenomena at the end of it. I've said it beautifully at the start. This is a crock of shit.
I agree. So, all right. So man-made devices can be faulty. How can we apply the scientific method without relying on man-made devices? Are we just going to be relying on our senses? How are we going to perform experiments in that way?
definitely can use man-made devices when you're performing scientific experimentation. It's just the device itself that can't actually be used as the phenomena, but we may get into that in the after show. So if you're watching this on Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. However, if you're watching this on Nathan Oakley 1980 live, then I'll say you a massive, huge, enormous thank you for tuning in, but unfortunately this is where we bid you farewell. If you need to keep yourself occupied after this live stream is over, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. As I say, stay tuned if you're watching the premiere stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!